one of the biggest news stories that we've had in a long time outside of just athletes, but the fact that the Supreme Court is going to start listening to arguments as to why student athletes should be paid by the colleges is very interesting and definitely something we need to talk about here.
Yeah, it's something that's been an issue, a topic for a long time, and this is something that honestly I never expected this to happen, and I think there's a lot of people out there that never expected the NCAA to be headed to the Supreme Court in 2021, where the Supreme Court might just force them to start paying these student athletes because they're making money off of their names. Why shouldn't the athletes make some money off of their own name?
Yeah, I think we're going to land on different aspects of this, and for good reason. I think there's going to be a lively discussion here. So the way I want to break this down, I want you to give me your argument. I'm going to give you my argument. Then we can rebut each other, and then we'll just finish it off with a closing statement.
Sure. So there are a ton of reasons why the NCAA should be paying their athletes, and I've already named one, but I think the most prevalent is it gives these players an opportunity to go and get a scholarship that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get. Say a student has two opportunities. They're able to go to a Division 1 school and get a big scholarship, or they can stay local, play Division 2 ball, and keep working for their family and being the money earner and risk their future just to keep their families afloat. Or now you can pay your athletes. They don't have to keep that local job and pay their family. They can go take that Division 1 scholarship. They can prove themselves as a great athlete. They don't have to worry about where their money is coming from for their family. And now they can go and try to earn a living as a professional athlete and get a better scholarship and a better education from another school.
So I have thought about this a lot, and I've actually debated this a lot, both in high school and college, and just in general with some of our friends. I do not believe that colleges should be forced to pay student athletes. I believe that student athletes should be able to make money by either getting an outside job or doing signings. They should make money on their likeness. If the NCAA football game ever comes back out through EA Sports, they should get some of the revenue from that as well. I think that by setting the precedent that colleges need to pay student athletes, you are coming down a deep hole that is going to put these colleges at risk of not even wanting to utilize college athletics. And this is where I'm going to try to figure this out. How do you tell me what somebody at South Missouri State that plays volleyball should get paid versus somebody that plays Alabama football for Nick Saban? Why should their pay be different? And especially when you go through the different genders and the different sports and whatever the case is, you're going to find a lot of issues when it comes to paying these athletes. These schools aren't going to do it. They're just going to shut down, their athletics essentially if they have to pay these athletes.
Yeah, I think that's a valid argument, but I think the problem is when you break it down, these are student athletes, right? They are students first, and then they focus on the sport that they're playing. You're in classes every single day of every single week, and then you are on the football field or you're on a field and you're practicing and then you're getting ready for the game. There is very little time to get your homework done, get your studies in, as well as hold down a job that can earn you enough money to help your family out or keep yourself afloat. I believe that now with the NCAA being forced to pay players based on the division they're in, you'll get more if you're in a higher division versus a lower division, and you'll get that money to support your family. Now you can just focus on doing well in school and doing well on in your sport. You don't have to focus on money and where your next, meal is going to come from or where your next family's meal is going to come from. You can really focus on what you need to at hand.
Right, but what you're describing is not the majority of the student athlete population. You're what you're describing is essentially a small section of student athletes who have to be able to contribute to their family as well as compete for a prominent position as a student athlete. What I'm trying to say is that let them make money doing other things. If they can take a especially in the off season. I mean, every sport has an off season. You can make money by signing jerseys, by signing pictures, by doing different events.
That's only if
Let
your
them
name is worth something.
Okay, and then what about the people who can get side jobs in the off season? What about those on campus jobs that they can get that they're not allowed to get right now? Again, student athletes like some these Division 1 student athletes can't even be RAs on their in their resident halls because that is a way that they would end up making money. I think if we opened up different avenues for them to be able to make money instead of just handing them paychecks because now you're taking away their ability to be amateur athletes. They are no longer amateur athletes. You're basically making them professionals already because they're being paid for the craft in which they're doing. And then how do you tell somebody who's not an athlete that they can't get paid? Somebody who's part of the chess club that still competes against other schools, or anybody that's a part of different clubs or organizations that goes out and does more. Should you pay student government because they have actual jobs that they're doing that is going to help benefit the student body? I mean, where does the allocation of funds for paying students end?
I think that we need to focus on how you're helping students. When we first, one of your points was students can get a job in the off season of their sport. Well, what if
Mhm.
your off season is only 3 4 months long? Well, what is your family gonna do? What are you gonna do in those 7 8 months where you cannot make money for yourself or your family? What are you gonna do in that instance? Or how can
Like I
you?
said,
How
you're
could you
describing a
even?
very small bracket of
Fine.
people.
How could you get a job even if you were eligible to be a resident advisor, an RA? How could you be if you're not there all the time because you are focused on your athletics as well? You can't be there
I went to a
for
Division 2 school, and we had student athletes who could be RAs.
it's
They
not
were
the
RAs
case.
all the time.
It's not the case in every situation. And I think that we need to be putting students first. I think we need to be helping them out financially, making sure they're secure. So that way, when they are focused on school, we know they're giving it them all. When they're on the doing their athletics, we know they're able to give it their all and they're not focused on something external. They're focused on what the task at hand and everything else comes second. Financials is a huge burden on most people in this country, and especially a lot of athletes that come from impoverished areas. That's a huge concern for them. I mean, if you've ever watched the college Netflix TV show, a lot of those students are have jobs at night where they're up until 1 2 a.m. working their job, and then they're up at 6 a.m. for practice. I mean, they need to make the money in order to keep their family and themselves afloat. Otherwise, it's all for naught. If you
I
take
I
away that
agree.
financial aspect of it and they can focus on their game, they'll be able to excel at that and be able to potentially make a career out of it and make even more money for themselves.
I understand that, but how do you tell a student who isn't athletically gifted that is in the same exact situation that they don't get money for that exact reason? I mean, somebody who is, studying beyond their just to get by and doesn't have the athletic ability to get a scholarship. I mean, don't forget these athletes are getting paid in the form of scholarships. They're not paying for their education. That's how they're getting paid as of right now. So
That's the only way
essentially,
they're able to go to school in the first place.
but athletes aren't the only ones that are being hurt by this affliction. Poverty hits a lot of people in different ways, and it's not just those who are
We're but
athletically gifted.
we're solely focused on student athletes. We're not focused on anybody else at the
But
point.
my point is that as soon as you start paying student athletes, everybody who has a gripe is going to come out of the woodwork, and there is going to be no stopping this flow of money, which is going to cause an issue for these college athletics.
I
That's
don't I don't
that's the
think
point.
I think this is an incentive for every up and comer who's in high school or middle school or elementary school to start focusing on not only their their education but also on their athletics because they know when I make it to college, I'm not only getting to play for a college, but I'm also getting to make money as well. So it's kind of more incentive for these youngsters to really do well in school and to get to
No,
college. I think this is yeah, this is
no, because what you're incentivizing is, listen, if you are part of the very few people that are good enough to make it to a top Division 1A school under a scholarship, right? And that you're probably going to end up making it professionally in some way, shape, or form, most of the time, right? Those are the people that are going to make millions of dollars anyway. Take them away. And what we're talking about here is essentially incentivizing people, just saying, listen, we're not only going to pay for your school, but we're going to pay you just to go to school. And that's not what we're in the business of doing. That's not what this should be about. And that's why I have a major problem with colleges paying student athletes. Allow them to get payment from somewhere else, not just from going to practice and playing games. That's not what this is supposed to be about. They are supposed to be amateur athletes. They are not supposed to be professionals.
but I mean, I have friends who were able to make money and not even as athletes, make money for being in for getting the degree they were getting. They
Of
didn't
course,
have
and that was
their
through
college
third parties.
their college was free. They got paid to go to school, but they didn't have to be athletes. I
Was
think
that
that the
through a
same
third party?
it was a government incented program, but
Exactly. So that was some they were paid through another program.
we're
That
talking about the NCAA. We're not talking about the school. We're talking about them. They're making money
the
off of these players.
NCAA is going to, the NCAA is not going to pay anybody. They're going to
Yeah,
force
and
the
then
colleges to
and then
pay.
the colleges have all these boosters. I mean, if we're talking about some of these major schools, if you're a player and you're offered a scholarship to go to Alabama or you can go to Central Mississippi, but you are worried that you won't have the funds to go to Alabama, so you're going to take that position at Central Mississippi, you don't have to anymore because boosters at Alabama are going to help pay for you. They're going to give you the money to keep you and your family afloat if that's of any issue. And now you get to get a better education on top of playing at a much better school and having a much better
But
potential at making it
how
to a
do these
professional
school
level.
how are these schools supposed to prioritize who gets what? Because there is
It's
a
based on your
finite amount of
division.
money.
It's based on your division. Are you a
So
division
Division
1, 2, or
1
3? Are you a
so
division
Division
1 or
1
1A?
listen, so a Division 1 volleyball player should make more than a Division 2 football player.
No. It's solely based on how much revenue the sport brings in versus and what division you're playing at. There's different tiers to this, and it's all variations of what sport you're playing in.
I think your argument is vastly flawed here. There's not enough money to keep paying everybody because
There's
then nobody's going to go
I'm
to
not
school unless
saying
they're an athlete. There's no reason to go to school at that point.
I'm not saying each player's getting $50,000 a year to go to play at a school. No, I'm saying $5,000-$10,000 at most. We're talking about a stipend. We're not talking about absurd amounts of money.
And that can all be done by doing
even
jobs on campus.
Even small colleges have hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's not like there's a lack of funds coming from these schools. They have plenty of money.
Athletics are not the end all and be all of these colleges and universities.
Athletics are a priority for many schools. It's what keeps their schools afloat. That's how they make most of their money. You think Clemson makes money for their education? No. You think Alabama makes money for their education? No. It's all about their sports, all about their athletics.
All right. Give me one statement and finish up here.
The NCAA needs to pay student athletes. It's clear as day. They're making money off of their name, and there's no reason that the student athletes should not get a cut of that.
The NCAA is a governing body where the colleges and universities make the money. The colleges and universities should not necessarily pay the student athletes, but they should not hold them back from being able to acquire income, whether it be from their own likeness, from their signature, whether it's from a third party job or other. Don't forget, student athletes also can't receive scholarships that are outside of the school as well. So I think that if they can apply for those sorts of things plus government financing, I think that we can open up the conversation to be colleges shouldn't be paying the student athletes, but allow them to obtain payment from other sources of income. Listen, at the end of the day, we both differ on our opinion, but the idea remains the same. We want the best for not only the student athletes but for everyone involved. We want the colleges and universities to continue to make money. We want to see the absolute best athletics as humanly possible, and we want to see these athletes do well, not both in their personal life and on the field. So I think that there's a lot more to this and a lot more discussion that can be had. So let us know in the comments below what you guys' thoughts is on this, and let us know where we might have misstepped somewhere or something that we might have missed.